Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about how the right arm works in the golf swing. All right guys, let's talk about how the right arm works in the golf swing. So before we dig into that, I do want to let you know we are offering a free 7-day trial to cogornogolf.com. The link will be in the description down below. It will be the first link if you guys want to check that out. Now, how the right arm works in the golf swing. We did a video a little while back about how the right arm works during the backswing, and it's meant to be more of an informational video to kind of describe what's going on, and we thought we'd tailor that today with how the right arm works during the downswing. Now, there's a couple pieces of how the right arm works that we talked about during the backswing, and I'm going to talk about those same things coming down, certain ways that it moves. Now, of course, anytime we're talking about downswing motions, it really depends on where you're coming from the top. Now, we did another video about internal and external rotation of the shoulder, and we did some things on those. So all of these pieces, of course, it depends where you're coming from. But how the right arm works during the downswing. The first function of the arm that I want to talk about is how bent it is or how straight it is. So how flexed or extended or bent or straight the right arm is. Now, when we go to the top, right, we talked about at the top of the swing, we want the right arm to be more or less 90 degrees. So it's bent 90 degrees. Are some players a little more and are some players a little less than that? Of course, right? But 90 degrees would be our stock. Now, in transition and during the downswing, what happens to that bend? Does it get more narrow or does it get wider? Well, what we would prefer to see and what most good players do is they maintain width or even increase some width on the way down. And again, of course, are there some players who go to the top, get to 90, and they really decrease and get narrow in transition? Of course there are. A lot of times those players have enough speed to support that motion. Most of you guys and gals, me included, don't have the kind of speed to support that. We would be better off with more width. So if we're 90 at the top like this, I would prefer that 90-degree angle to be maintained during transition or even slightly wider. So if we're 90 here, down to about left arm parallel, let's say we're 90 or even 120. So we even might have lost some of the bend or increased the straightness of the right arm in transition. Now notice I say I straightened my arm out. I didn't say that I released my angles, right? Some of you guys confuse adding width here with what you would call a casting motion. I'm maintaining my angles here with my wrist conditions. I'm just adding some width with my right arm. And I would continue that trend down to about last parallel here, where I've even widened my right arm out even greater, maybe about 150 degrees now. Some of you guys, that math is going to be over your head, but about 150 here. And then I would maintain about that 150 into impact. So from the down the line angle, if I'm 90 at the top, I'm going to maintain 90 or even increase the length to about 120 at first parallel. I'm going to maintain 120 or increase the length of it to about 150 degrees. So there's still some bend in it. And then I'm going to have some amount of bend when I get to impact. How bent your right arm is going to be at impact is going to depend a lot on your body bends, right? So how forward flexed you are, how much right side bend you have, et cetera, et cetera. The point being, the closer my body is to the ground, through forward flexion or through right side bend, the more bent my right arm is going to be. The farther my body is away from the ground, the longer the right arm is going to be. Typically, good ball strikers are more towards bent. They still got some bend in there, about 30 degrees, whereas poor ball strikers are fully released. That's the general idea of the bend. So I'm bent at impact, and then once I'm past impact, I'm losing the bend by about 45 degrees. So I lose the bend typically from here. My arms will be fully straightened somewhere between about 45 degrees and first parallel. That, of course, depends on the body bends. Like I said, it depends on your club face position, your grip. Some guys will keep the bent longer all the way through to about arms parallel, have a strong club face position. Those whose club face is more neutral or even open, you'll see an extension even earlier on into the follow through. So that would be a typical bend amount, right? Now, the next thing in terms of the arms we talked about during the backswing is how much rotation you have, right? So how much supination, palm up, or pronation, palm down, or just arm rotation you have, okay? So that would be the second part of it. Now, when we go to the top, again, if we assume a neutral, if I go to the top and have a neutral position, which is the club basically down the line or pointed slightly to the left of the target, my arm, right, I can have my arm rotated independently this way or this way. So same way here, I can have my arm independently, forearm rotation, have the club lay down more or go more across the line. So the more I lay down like that would be supination, the more I go across would be pronation. If I'm neutral like this, that would be a club right down the line or just slightly laid off, okay? Now as I begin down from here, my trail arm will, as it externally rotates, the trail arm will go into a little bit of supination, right? Which means the palm goes from here a little bit more up towards the sky. Not actively doing that for most people, but it will not go this way, right? So if I pronate or just rotate my palm down, you see that steepens the shaft. If I supinate or get the palm more up, that would shallow the shaft, okay? So there'll be a little bit of supination of my right arm. Don't let the terms bog you down here, just see the motion, more palm up. And I will continue that motion until about last parallel, okay? From there, I'm not gonna continue having my palm up towards the sky forever. There will be some amount now of pronation or palm down towards the ground during the late phase of the release and into the follow through. Now, how much do I go from a palm up, supinated? How much do I do that? How long? Depends on where you're at the top, depends on your wrist conditions, etc. But I would do that until about halfway down or last parallel, and then there would be some pronation from there. And again, how much you do depends on, I'm gonna say that 100 times, because it depends on all of those factors. So that's the deal with arm rotation. It's palm up, supination early, and then it's palm down, pronation later into your follow through. That would be the second part. The third part of the right arm for me would be wrist conditions. So am I in a flexed or extended position back like this or a flexed position forward, right? Am I here or here? That would be the last part. If I'm normal at the top, right? If I'm normal at the top, I'm in a little bit of an extended or bent back position. And if you've watched our previous videos, you know that I like to keep that bent back, keep that bent back, keep that bent back. I'm basically maintaining my extension here all the way to and past impact. Now in reality, you're maintaining extension down to about last parallel, and then you're slowly getting rid of that. In fact, some people are slowly getting rid of that earlier during the whole downswing. But for you guys and gals who are fully released here, I would want you to feel like you maintain that all the way at or past impact to get shaft lean and dynamic loft. In reality, right, it's bent back, but you're losing some of that, right? You're flexing it, but there's still some amount of bend at impact. That again, it depends on your grip, body bends, etc. So that would be the right arm portion there. And then the last part of this is internal and external rotation, okay? It would be like this. So internal and external rotation. And I covered that in previous videos, so I won't go into as much detail on that. It really depends on where you are at the top, but we're looking for the trail shoulder, internal versus external, during the transition phase and downswing to be externally rotated, regardless where you are at the top, and maintaining that external rotation down to last parallel and even into impact. You'll notice the internal, this way, or external rotation, the trail shoulder, during the follow-through phase will show you a lot of release patterns you guys see and don't like, which what I mean is, if I were to keep this externally rotated all the way to and past impact, that's correlated with an elbow more in front of my body and a release pattern where it looks like I'm exiting more around my body to the left. If I internally rotate my trail shoulder, that would be a steeper shaft here, or if I were to do it down at the bottom, a more kicked out shaft here, or even from here, notice if I internally rotate my arm, how that gives a look of that flip down the line, right? If I'm good at impact and I just internally rotate my arm, there's that down the line release a lot of you guys don't like. If I did that and I just stayed externally rotated with my trail shoulder the whole time, then I'd have a release pattern that works more around my body. Whew, that's a lot of information on just the right arm, but there's those four parts. How much should it bend or not? What sort of arm rotation should you have? What should your wrist conditions look like? And then internal, external rotation of your trail shoulder. So this is like a master class on right arm, and it's information based for you guys to be able to understand what you're doing in your swing and be able to correct it, okay? Don't get caught up in the terminology, but the actual how things function together. So you can use this knowledge to correct things. If you're too wide or too narrow, you can look at stock model videos we put out and where you should be and adjust. If you have the club in some weird spots during the downswing, hey, how does my forearm rotation control that? What about my wrist conditions? What about my shoulder alignments? That's part of it. We have a lot more in detail in terms of how to fix these things on CogornoGolf.com, and we'll do more master classes as we go. But I want you guys to know that's sort of the baseline idea of how it works. There's a lot more detail even that we could go into and how it affects you guys. But those are the 4 functions of the right arm during the downswing in terms of the macro stuff. There's some other movements in terms of hinging and unhinging we didn't get into. There's things like that as well. But that's what I wanted you to understand. I'm sure you guys will have some questions. Leave me a comment down below. One more time, we are doing a free 7-day trial to CogornoGolf.com. More instruction from me, tailored for you if you guys want to check that out. Link will be in the description down below. Thank you. Hey guys, if you liked today's video, please do me a favor, click the like button down below. Click the notification bell if you haven't. Also, please subscribe. Another reminder, CogornoGolf.com is up and live. If you guys want more instruction from me, tailored for you, go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching.